I leaned back in my old wooden chair, the salty breeze drifting through the open window. The waves of the ocean crashed softly against the sand, the same comforting rhythm I'd heard since I was a child. This beach house wasn't just a house. It was my history, my memory, my bloodline. My father had built it with his own hands, and after he passed, I became its keeper. "Mom?" My daughter Claire called from the kitchen. "Yes, honey?" I answered, smiling faintly. She appeared in the doorway, holding her phone close to her chest. Her eyes darted away quickly, the way they used to when she was little and hiding something. "You seem distracted," I said gently. "Something on your mind?" She forced a smile. "Oh, nothing, just work stuff." I nodded, though deep down I knew. Claire had never been good at hiding her secrets. I tried to ease the tension. "Do you remember when you were 7? You ran across this beach with your kite and fell face first into the sand. You cried so hard until I promised ice cream." Her lips curled into a quick smile. "I remember, but I also remember you ate half my ice cream." We both laughed. For a moment, I believed we were safe in that memory. But the heaviness in her eyes returned almost instantly. After dinner, she hugged me quickly and said, "I'll be out tomorrow morning. I have errands to run." I watched her leave, a pit forming in my stomach. Something was wrong. The next morning I heard her in the hallway, whispering, "No, don't worry. She has no idea. Papers are signed. Tomorrow it's done." My heart stopped. I stepped closer to the door, pressing my ear against the wood. "Yes, I told Mom we're going out tomorrow. She thinks it's just a trip. She doesn't know the buyers are coming. The house will be theirs before she even realizes." My knees buckled. I had to cover my mouth to stop myself from gasping. My daughter, my own flesh and blood, was selling my father's house behind my back. I stumbled back to my room, hands shaking. Memories flashed. My father hammering nails into the wood, my mother planting flowers by the porch, my late husband painting the windows white. Every inch of this home held my soul, and Claire, she wanted to throw it away like trash. When she returned to my room later, her smile was sweet, rehearsed. "Good morning, Mom. Did you sleep well?" I forced a nod. Yes, I did. But my voice trembled. She didn't notice. Or maybe she didn't care. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat on the porch, staring at the moonlight reflecting on the waves. My chest burned with betrayal. I whispered into the dark, "Why, Claire? Why would you do this to me?" I remembered her father's words before he died. "Take care of the house, Mary. Don't ever let it go. It's our family's heart." Tears rolled down my face. "I promised him," I whispered, "and I will keep that promise." As the wind howled against the wooden frame, a cold clarity settled in me. If Claire thought she could outsmart me, she was wrong. She had no idea who she was dealing with. I stood, wiped my tears, and stared into the night. "This house is mine," I whispered, "and she will regret betraying me." The next morning, I moved slower than usual, though my mind was racing. I brewed coffee, watching the dark liquid swirl as if it could give me answers. My daughter Claire walked in, humming, too cheerful for a woman with secrets buried under her smile. "Good morning, Mom," she said brightly. I forced my lips to curve upward. "Morning, dear. Coffee?" She waved me off. "No, I'm fine. I've got a busy day ahead." I studied her face carefully. There it was again, the darting eyes, the nervous fidget with her phone. "Busy with what?" I asked casually. She froze for half a second too long before saying, "Just meeting a friend." I stirred sugar into my cup, each clink of the spoon sharp in the silence. "Oh, which friend?" She hesitated. "You don't know her." That was all she gave me. Inside, my heart screamed, "Liar!" But on the surface, I stayed calm. "All right then," I said softly. "Be safe." She kissed my cheek quickly and rushed out the door. As soon as her car engine faded, I grabbed my sweater and followed on foot down the street until I reached the corner. From there, I saw her car parked across town, outside the lawyer's office. My pulse quickened. She wasn't meeting a friend. She was finishing her betrayal. That evening, she returned, pretending nothing had happened. "How was your day?" I asked. "Great," she replied. setting her purse down. I had lunch, did some errands. You know, the usual. I sipped my tea slowly, watching her every move. Did you see your friend? Yes, she said too quickly. I leaned forward, my voice soft but cutting. Claire, do you really think you can lie to me? Her eyes widened. What do you mean? I set my cup down, hard enough for it to rattle. I saw your car. At the lawyer's office. Her face went pale. You were signing papers, weren't you? My voice shook, not with weakness but with fury. Mom. She tried to laugh it off. It's not what you think. Don't. I snapped. Don't treat me like I'm blind. This house is not yours to sell. She crossed her arms, her voice suddenly sharp. I'm your daughter. I have just as much right as you do. This place is a burden, Mom. It's old, it's falling apart, and it's worth money we could actually use. Her words stabbed me. A burden? This house is our family's heart. Your grandfather built it. Your father bled for it. And you call it a burden? Claire rolled her eyes. You're living in the past. Times change. We need money, and this is the smartest way. You should be thanking me? I slammed my fist on the table. Thanking you? For stabbing me in the back? For selling the only thing that keeps your father's memory alive? For a moment, silence. Then her eyes hardened. Dad's gone, Mom, and memories don't pay bills? The cruelty in her tone knocked the air out of me. My hands trembled, but I straightened my back. You have no idea what you've done, I whispered. Claire grabbed her purse again. I'm going out. We'll talk later, when you've calmed down. The door slammed behind her, leaving me in the suffocating silence of betrayal. That night, I sat on the porch again, the ocean roaring louder than usual. My chest ached with grief and anger. I whispered to the wind, she's my daughter. My own blood. And yet she sold me out like a stranger. Memories poured in. Claire as a little girl running across the sand, laughing as the waves chased her feet. How had that sweet child grown into this cold, calculating woman? I wiped my tears and straightened. No, I said firmly. I will not let her destroy this house. If she thinks she's clever, she's wrong. I have fought storms before. I'll fight this one too. The waves crashed, almost as if agreeing with me. I whispered into the night, my voice filled with resolve. She doesn't know the real strength of her mother. But she will. Oh, she will. The following morning, I woke to the sound of seagulls screaming overhead. The house creaked as if it too sensed the storm brewing inside. My heart was heavy, but my mind was sharper than ever. When I walked into the kitchen, Claire was already there, scrolling through her phone. She looked up at me briefly, then went back to her screen as if I were a shadow. Good morning, I said carefully. Morning, she replied flatly, without even glancing up. The tension was thick, like humidity before a hurricane. I sat across from her. Claire, we need to talk, she sighed, rolling her eyes. Mom, we already did this. You overreacted. Selling the house is the smart choice. I clenched my jaw. Overreacted? You lied to me. You went behind my back. That isn't smart, Claire. That's betrayal. She finally set her phone down, leaning forward. You call it betrayal, I call it survival. Do you even realize how much money this place is worth? We could pay debts, travel, start over somewhere fresh. But no, you're chained to this old wood like it's your lifeline. I met her gaze, steady and unwavering. It is my lifeline. And your father's. And his father's before him. You think selling this house will free you, but all it will do is curse you. She laughed, a harsh sound. Curse me? Please, Mom, don't start with your dramatic superstitions. This isn't some fairy tale. It's real life. I leaned closer, lowering my voice. Exactly. And in real life, actions have consequences. You'll see. Her jaw tightened, but before she could respond, her phone buzzed. She picked it up instantly. Yes? Yes, tomorrow works. She'll be here. Don't worry, I'll handle her. She looked at me briefly, her expression cold, then walked out of the kitchen. My stomach knotted. She'll be here? Buyers. She's bringing them tomorrow. That evening, I walked along the beach, the sand cool beneath my bare feet. Every grain seemed to whisper stories of the past. My father's laughter, my husband's strong arms carrying driftwood, Claire as a toddler with sand stuck in her hair. I stopped near the waterline, clutching a seashell in my hand. I whispered to the waves, "How do I fight my own child?" The ocean gave no answer, only roared back with its endless fury. Suddenly, a voice startled me. "Evening, Mary." I turned to see Mr. Thompson, my elderly neighbor. He had lived 2 houses down for decades. "Evening," I replied, forcing a smile. "You look troubled," he said, studying me. I hesitated, then sighed. "It's Claire. She's planning something behind my back. With the house." His eyes narrowed. "I saw some strangers looking around earlier this week. Realtors, maybe?" My chest tightened. "So it's true. She's gone further than I thought." He placed a hand on my shoulder. "Mary, this house has been in your family forever. Don't let it slip away. If you need help, I'm here." I nodded, tears pricking my eyes. "Thank you. I may need you sooner than I think." When I returned home, Claire was sitting on the couch, her arms crossed. "Where were you?" she demanded. "Walking," I replied calmly. She studied me, suspicious. "Don't try anything, Mom. The papers are signed. Tomorrow the buyers are coming, and by next week, this house will no longer be ours." Her words sliced through me, but I kept my face stone still. "We'll see," I whispered. She narrowed her eyes. "Don't make this harder than it has to be. I'm doing what's best." The next morning I rose before the sun. My hands trembled as I folded the curtains back, watching the pale light spill across the ocean. Today, strangers would walk into my father's house, touching walls he built, floors my children learned to walk on. The thought made my chest ache. Claire was already dressed when I entered the kitchen. Her hair was neatly done, her lips painted, her smile too polished. "You're up early," I said, my voice flat. "Of course," she replied cheerfully. "Today's important." I set a mug of coffee in front of her. "Important for you, maybe." "Not for me." She ignored the jab, sipping quickly before checking her phone. "They'll be here around 11. Please, Mom, don't make this difficult." "Difficult?" I raised an eyebrow. "You mean don't tell the truth?" Her jaw tightened. "Just don't embarrass me." I leaned closer, my eyes locked on hers. "The only one embarrassing herself here is you, Claire." At exactly 11, I heard the crunch of tires on the gravel driveway. A shiny black SUV pulled up, and a well-dressed couple stepped out, all smiles and handshakes. Behind them trailed a man in a suit, briefcase in hand, clearly the lawyer. Claire rushed to greet them. "Welcome. I'm so glad you came." I stayed on the porch, arms crossed, watching silently as they approached. "This is my mother, Mary," Claire said quickly, gesturing to me. "She'll be here today, but she understands the situation." I let out a short laugh. "Understands? That's funny. I understand perfectly well. You're trying to sell what isn't yours to sell." The couple exchanged awkward glances. Claire's smile faltered. "Mom, please." I cut her off, my voice firm. "This house was built by my father, passed to me legally, and remains in my name. Whatever papers you've signed, Claire, mean nothing without my consent." The lawyer cleared his throat. "Actually, Mrs. Thompson, if your daughter has partial claim, she doesn't." I snapped, my eyes flashing. "Not yet. And not without me. Don't stand here and twist the truth." The buyers shifted uncomfortably. The woman whispered, "Maybe we should come back later." Claire's face burned red. No, please, don't listen to her. She's emotional. This place holds memories for her, but it's time to move forward. You'll love it here." I stepped closer, pointing a finger at the couple. "If you think you can buy this house, you'll be buying heartbreak and blood. Because I will fight until my last breath." The lawyer raised his hands. "Perhaps we should give this some time. Clearly there are unresolved issues." "Yes, unresolved," I said coldly. "Because betrayal doesn't get resolved in a day." The couple hurried back toward their SUV, whispering to each other. Claire chased after them, begging, but their faces told me all I needed to know. They were already reconsidering. When Claire finally returned inside, her face was twisted with rage. "What is wrong with you?" she shouted. Do you realize what you just did? You ruined everything. I stood tall, unflinching. No, Claire. You tried to ruin everything. I only told the truth. Her hand shook. You embarrassed me. In front of them, in front of the lawyer. Do you know how stupid you looked? Stupid? My voice cracked with emotion. No, Claire. Stupid is selling your family's soul for a pile of cash. She threw her purse onto the couch, pacing furiously. You'll regret this, Mom. You'll see. They'll come back, and next time, you won't stop me. I walked past her slowly, my hand brushing the wooden wall, feeling its strength. As long as I'm breathing, you'll never sell this house. That night, I sat at the dining table, staring at the old documents I'd laid out. Deeds, wills, letters, all proof that this house belonged. The house felt colder the next morning, though the sun was shining. I heard Claire in the kitchen, her voice sharp and clipped as she spoke on the phone. No, don't worry, she said angrily. She won't stop this. I'll handle her. The buyers will come back once I convince them. Her tone sent chills through me. She wasn't giving up. When she noticed me in the doorway, she ended the call quickly, her expression hard. Eavesdropping again? She snapped. No, I replied calmly. Just listening to the lies you can't stop telling. She slammed her mug on the counter. You embarrassed me in front of those people. Do you realize what you cost us? Us? I laughed bitterly. This was never about us, Claire. It was about you. Your greed. Your hunger for money. Her face twisted. Greed? You think wanting a better life is greed? You've been clinging to this shack for decades. It's falling apart. Selling it is the only smart choice. I stepped closer, my voice low and firm. This house isn't a shack. It's a promise, and I will never let you destroy it. For a moment, silence stretched between us like a drawn bowstring. Then Claire turned away, muttering, You'll regret this, Mom. One way or another. You'll regret it. Later that afternoon, I gathered the old documents again, spreading them out across the dining table. My hands traced the faded ink, my father's signature, my late husband's handwriting. Proof, unshakable proof. I whispered to myself, if she wants a fight, I'll give her one, but I'll fight with truth. A knock at the door startled me. It was Mr. Thompson again, carrying a folder. Mary, I thought you might need this, he said, handing it over. Inside were photocopies of property records he had kept from the town archives. Tears welled in my eyes. Why would you do this for me? He smiled gently. Because I've watched you care for this place your whole life. Because I know what it means to you. And because sometimes family forgets and neighbors remember. I clutched his hand. Thank you. You don't know what this means. That evening, Claire returned from another meeting. She threw her purse on the couch and glared at me. You've been busy, she said bitterly, eyeing the papers spread across the table. Yes, I replied, calm but unyielding. Making sure you can't steal what isn't yours. Her voice rose. You think these dusty papers will stop me? The buyers want this place. The lawyer is on my side. You can't fight us all. I stood, my shoulders squared. Watch me. She laughed harshly, but there was fear in her eyes. You don't know how the world works anymore, Mom. You're old, stuck in the past. This house deserves new life. No, I shot back. It deserves respect. Something you clearly don't understand. She stormed off, her footsteps pounding up the stairs. That night, sleep wouldn't come. I sat on the porch, the salty wind whipping through my hair. I remembered Claire as a little girl, her laughter echoing as she built sandcastles by the shore. How had we come to this? Mother and daughter locked in a war over the very sand that once united us. I whispered into the dark, Lord, give me strength. Because tomorrow I will need it. The waves crashed back, steady and endless. And deep in my chest, I knew. This was no longer just about a house. It was about dignity, about love betrayed, about the fight every mother must face when her child forgets the value of home. I woke before dawn, the sky still bruised with night. My thoughts were loud and restless. Claire's voice echoed in my head. You'll regret this. I poured tea with trembling hands and stared at the papers again, as if they might rearrange themselves into a miracle. There was one last thing I hadn't checked properly. The original deed, my grandfather's handwriting, the oldest page in the chest. I pulled it out, blew dust from the edges, and read every line as if reading a prayer. "Always with me," I whispered. "Come on, tell me something." My eyes caught a narrow paragraph near the bottom, written in tiny, precise letters. I squinted. It was a clause I'd skimmed over 1,000 times when grief had been raw and my hands too shaky to read fully. This property to remain in the continuous possession of the matriarch of the Thompson line, non-transferable during her lifetime, unless she provides written consent witnessed by 2 town registrants. My breath left me in a soft gasp. Matriarch. The word felt like sunlight through fog. I had always been the one who kept the house, the one people came to for the keys and the cocoa. This clause, my grandfather's deliberate stubborn ink, meant the property couldn't be sold while I was alive, unless I signed off. A laugh bubbled up, equal parts relief and anger. I pressed the paper to my chest. "You tried to hide this from me, Claire. You couldn't hide the truth from my grandfather. I needed proof, an ally, and someone who knew the registry better than me." I wrapped the deed in an old scarf and hurried down the lane to the town registry office, my heart pounding like a drum. The clerk, Mrs. Alvarez, looked up as I entered, surprise melting into a warm smile. "Mary, it's early. Everything okay?" I held out the deed. "Please, I need help. I think there's a clause, a restriction. I need it checked." She took the paper gently, her eyes scanning. After a moment, she nodded slowly. "This is the original, old Thompson script. There, see? A life estate clause. It says the property cannot be alienated during the matriarch's life without her express consent witnessed legally." Tears blurred my vision. "So she can't sell it?" I whispered, thinking of Claire's smug phone calls, of the buyers at my doorstep. "Not while you're alive and legally recognized as matriarch," Mrs. Alvarez said. "Unless you sign something." My chest swelled. "I never signed anything." She smiled kindly, folding her hands. "Then legally the sale is voidable. You should speak with a lawyer immediately. Get a notice filed. And you'll need witnesses who remember the family's possession, neighbors, long-term residents." I thanked her, my voice thick. On my way out, I called Mr. Thompson. His voice crackled with surprise and then fierce loyalty. "Of course I'll be there," he said. "You don't fight alone, Mary." Back home, I found Claire in the kitchen, her face hard and impatient. "You look like you ran a marathon," she said. "Did you find help?" "I found the truth," I replied, placing the original deed on the table. "My grandfather wrote a life estate clause. It prevents this sale without my consent." Her face whitened for a second, then flushed with anger. "That's ridiculous. That happened 100 years ago. Laws change." "They don't change for promises," I said, my voice low but steady. "And this is a legal document." She laughed, brittle. "So now what? You'll threaten to sue?" "You're too old for this, Mom." I leaned forward, every word measured. "I will do whatever it takes to protect this house. I will call a lawyer, file a notice, and have the town register." The morning of the hearing felt colder than the sea wind itself. I buttoned my coat with hands that trembled, not just from age, but from the weight of what lay ahead. Claire had filed the papers quickly, determined to push the sale through before anyone could stop her. But thanks to Mr. Thompson, Mrs. Alvarez, and the old deed, I finally had a defense. At the courthouse, the marble floors echoed with footsteps, and the smell of old paper hung in the air. My lawyer, Mr. Green, a tall man with a quiet voice, guided me toward the small courtroom. "Stay calm, Mary," he whispered. "We have the clause. We have witnesses. And most importantly, you have the truth." Claire sat across the aisle, sleek in a black suit, her expression carved from stone. She barely looked at me, but when she did, her eyes burned with defiance. Beside her sat a real estate agent and a sharp-faced attorney who looked like he hadn't smiled in years. The judge entered, a silver-haired woman with sharp eyes. "This hearing is to determine the validity of the attempted sale of the Thompson Beach house," she announced. "We will hear from both sides." Claire's lawyer started first. He painted her as a devoted daughter trying to help her aging mother downsize responsibly. He spoke of financial strain, maintenance costs, the impracticality of an elderly widow keeping such a large estate. My hands clenched. Impracticality? This house was my bloodline. Then it was our turn. Mr. Green stood tall, holding the original deed aloft. Your Honor, this document contains a life estate clause. It prohibits transfer during Mrs. Thompson's lifetime without her written, witnessed consent. No such consent was given. The attempted sale is therefore null. The judge leaned forward. Do you have corroborating evidence? Mr. Green gestured. Mr. Thompson rose, his old voice clear and steady. I've lived beside Mary my whole life. That house has always passed from matriarch to matriarch. Her grandfather told us himself that it was never to be sold without her say. Then Mrs. Alvarez confirmed the registry records, her official seal gleaming under the lights. One by one, neighbors added their signatures to affidavits. My chest swelled with pride as they spoke. Claire shifted in her seat, her polished composure beginning to crack. Finally, the judge turned to me. Mrs. Thompson, do you wish to add anything? I stood gripping the bench for balance. My voice shook at first, but then steadied like the tide. This house is not just a building, Your Honor. It is the history of my family, the promise of my grandfather, and the soul of our community. I never consented to its sale. It was stolen from me in secret without respect or decency. If this clause means anything, it means his promise is alive, and I intend to honor it. Silence filled the room. For a moment, I thought I heard the faint crash of waves outside, as if the sea itself bore witness. The judge nodded slowly. Very well. Given the clear language of the deed and the absence of the matriarch's consent, I find that the attempted sale cannot stand. The transaction is void. The property remains under Mrs. Thompson's ownership. The gavel struck once, sharp as thunder. A wave of relief surged through me so strong I nearly collapsed. Mr. Green steadied my arm, whispering, It's over. You've won this round. Across the aisle, Claire's face darkened. She leaned close to her lawyer, whispering furiously, her knuckles white. I caught only fragments, appeal, money, not over. Outside the courtroom, neighbors hugged me. Justice Mary, Mr. Thompson said, his eyes wet. Mrs. Alvarez pressed my hands. Your grandfather would be proud, but I felt no triumph, only exhaustion and sorrow. Claire brushed past me, her perfume sharp, her voice cold. Enjoy your little victory, Mom. You won't always be around. And when you're gone, the house is mine. Remember that. Her words cut deeper than any lawsuit. I stood on the courthouse steps, the salty breeze tugging my hair. Yes, I had won today. The law had sided with me, the clause had held. But the war with my own daughter was far from finished. Looking out toward the sea, I whispered to myself, this house may have survived another storm. But the fiercest storm is still inside my family. The victory at court should have filled my heart with peace, but instead it left a heavier silence in my home. The gavel had protected the house, yes, but it had not healed the fracture between mother and daughter. If anything, it had deepened it. Claire returned that evening, her heels clicking on the old wood like daggers. She dropped her coat on the chair without a glance at me. Congratulations, she said flatly. You embarrassed me in front of half the town. I kept stirring the stew on the stove, refusing to bite. I defended what was mine. What's yours? Her voice was sharp, bitter. You mean what should have been mine? You cling to that place like it's your coffin. I turned, wooden spoon in hand. It is my home, Claire. My father's, my grandfather's. It is not a coffin, it is a living thing. And you tried to bury it alive. For a moment, I saw a flicker of guilt in her eyes, but it vanished as quickly as it came. She poured herself a glass of wine and retreated to the living room, her silence louder than any shouting. The days that followed were a quiet battlefield. She would avoid me at breakfast, her phone glued to her ear, whispering about options and buyers who might wait. I heard her once mutter, "She won't live forever," and the chill it left in me was worse than the sea winds. At night, I would walk the halls alone, touching the walls, the photographs, the very bones of the house. My husband's smile stared at me from the mantel. "You're not alone, Mary," I imagined him saying. Yet the weight of Claire's presence under the same roof felt like living with a stranger or an enemy. One evening, Mr. Thompson stopped by with a bag of apples. "How's the house holding up?" he asked gently. "The house is fine," I whispered, glancing toward the living room where Claire sat scrolling on her phone. "It's the people inside it that are cracking," he shook his head. "Mary, she's blinded by greed. Don't let her poison your days. You won in court. Now live in peace," I smiled sadly. "Peace doesn't live here anymore." The tension grew sharper when letters began arriving, official envelopes addressed to me. Claire had filed an appeal. She wanted the clause challenged in higher court, arguing it was outdated and unconstitutional. One night I confronted her. "How could you do this again? After all the neighbors stood with me?" She snapped her phone shut, her face hard. "Because this isn't about them. It's about me. I am your daughter, your only heir. That house should be mine, and I'm not going to let a piece of yellowed paper stop me." "You're not fighting for a home," I said quietly. "You're fighting for money." Her silence confirmed what I already knew. After she went upstairs, I sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at the appeal papers. The lamp cast a small circle of light, and outside, the sea pounded endlessly against the shore. My hands shook, but I folded the papers neatly and whispered to myself, "If it's war she wants, it's war she'll have. But I won't let this house fall." The neighbors continued to support me. Mr. Thompson fixed the shutters. Mrs. Alvarez brought soup. Even young boys from down the street offered to mow the lawn. The community treated the house like it was theirs too, a shared inheritance of memory. Claire, on the other hand, grew more distant, retreating into phone calls and meetings I was not privy to. She would slam doors, speak in clipped tones, and sometimes disappear for entire nights. Each time she returned, she looked more polished, more determined, as if she was armoring herself against me. I prayed at night, clutching the rosary my mother had left me. "Give me strength," I whispered. "Not just to keep the house, but to keep from hating my own child." One dawn, I found Claire in the garden, staring at the sea with her arms crossed. For a brief moment, she looked like the little girl who once ran barefoot through those sands, her laughter mingling with the gulls. My heart softened. "Claire," I said gently, "why are you doing this? You could live here, share this house with me, build a life. Why must you sell it?" She turned, her face hardening again, as if she caught herself being human. "Because I don't want to live in your shadow." The weeks after the appeal filing were a blur of tension and sleepless nights. Every creak of the old house felt heavier, like the walls themselves were bracing for another storm. I tried to find comfort in small things: tea at dawn, the smell of bread baking, but Claire's cold presence poisoned even those moments. One evening, as I walked past her room, I heard her voice low and urgent. "Yes, I understand. The clause won't hold forever. Just keep the buyer interested. Once she's gone, the house is mine." My blood ran cold. Once she's gone. Did she mean after I passed away? Or was she planning something darker? I pressed a hand against the wall to steady myself, listening as her laughter, brittle, unfamiliar, slipped through the crack of the door. I returned to the kitchen, my heart hammering. The kettle whistled and I nearly jumped. I poured water into a cup but couldn't bring myself to drink it. The thought gnawed at me. Could my own daughter be waiting for me to die? Later that night, I confided in Mr. Thompson. He frowned deeply, his lined face grave. "Mary, she's blinded by greed. I don't think she'd—" "But you must protect yourself. Don't let her wear you down." "I'm not afraid for me," I whispered. "I'm afraid of what she's becoming. I barely recognize her anymore." He placed a hand over mine. "Then you need to prepare. Keep records, keep allies close. If she's planning behind your back, you must be ready." The next morning, I searched the study where Claire often left her things scattered. Among her papers, I found business cards, lawyers, agents, even a developer from the city. Scribbled notes mentioned numbers far larger than I could imagine. Demolish, rebuild, profit margin. My chest tightened. She didn't just want to sell. She wanted to erase the house, reduce it to rubble and cash. I confronted her that evening, holding up the notes. What is this, Claire? Plans to tear down our history. She snatched the papers, her face flushing. You had no right to look through my things. I had every right to protect this house, I shot back. Do you even hear yourself? Demolition? Profit margins? This isn't just a sale, it's destruction. Her lips curled into a smirk. It's progress, Mom. The world doesn't care about your dusty memories. People want condos, resorts, something new. This house is worthless compared to what it could be. Worthless? My voice cracked, a mix of fury and grief. This house raised generations. Your father painted every beam with his hands. Your grandfather's blood built these walls. And you call it worthless? She shrugged, cold. Sentiment doesn't pay bills. I turned away before my tears showed. That night, I locked my bedroom door for the first time in decades. The sound of the key turning echoed in my chest like a betrayal of its own. Days blurred, but whispers grew louder. Neighbors told me they'd seen Claire meeting strangers on the beach, showing them the house from afar, pointing, gesturing. Potential buyers, one of them whispered. I thanked them, though my heart cracked deeper each time. I started keeping a journal, writing down every strange call, every suspicious visit, every word I overheard. I knew one day this might be my only weapon. One late evening, I woke to the sound of footsteps outside my door. Slow, deliberate. The knob turned slightly, then stopped. I held my breath until the footsteps retreated. My hand clutched the rosary under my pillow. The next morning, Claire was cheerful at breakfast, humming as she buttered her toast. The false sweetness chilled me more than her anger ever did. When Mr. Green, my lawyer, visited, I showed him my notes. He read quietly, his brow furrowed. This paints a picture, he said. If she's making moves behind your back, we'll need to be ready for another fight. But more importantly, you need to stay safe. His words lingered. Safe. I hadn't felt safe in my own home in weeks. That night, I sat by the fire, the journal open on my lap, my eyes tracing. The house felt heavier than ever, as if every beam carried the weight of secrets. Claire's whispers, her late-night phone calls, the footsteps outside my door. I couldn't pretend anymore. Something had to give. It happened on a stormy evening. The sea thrashed against the rocks, rain lashing the windows. I sat in the parlor with my journal open, writing down the latest unease. Strangers on the beach again. Claire met them. She laughed. The door slammed and Claire swept in, soaked from the rain but glowing with determination. She dropped a folder on the table in front of me. Here, she said, her voice sharp. These are the new contracts. Sign them, and this can all be over. I looked at the folder but didn't touch it. Over, you mean the house? My life? My grandfather's promise? Her eyes flashed. You're being dramatic. It's just a building. You're too old to manage it. Once it's gone, you'll finally have peace. Peace? I whispered, rising slowly to my feet. You think peace comes from tearing down our history? You think I'll find rest in a stranger's condo where my husband's laughter once lived? She slammed her fist on the table. Stop living in the past. You're choking me, Mom. Do you understand that? Every day in this house is a reminder that I'll never be free until you let it go. The words hit like stones. My knees buckled, but I steadied myself. You want freedom? Leave, but don't take this house with you. This is not your prison. It is your inheritance, your anchor. One day you'll see. Her face twisted with something raw, anger, pain, perhaps even regret, but she masked it quickly. You'll sign one way or another. You can't live forever. The venom in her tone broke something inside me. For years I had carried hope that she would come back to me, that beneath the greed was the daughter I raised. But that night, I realized the daughter I loved was buried under ambition, unreachable. I clutched the journal to my chest. I won't sign. Not tonight, not ever. You'll have to wait until the sea swallows me before this house is yours? Her lips curled into a cold smile. Then I'll wait. She left me standing there, the storm howling outside. I collapsed into the chair, tears spilling freely. The fire sputtered, shadows dancing along the walls. For the first time, I whispered aloud the fear I'd buried. She doesn't just want the house. She wants me gone. The next day, neighbors noticed my pale face and drawn eyes. Mrs. Alvarez pressed my hands firmly. Mary, you can't keep living like this. Come stay with me for a while. Give yourself a break. But I shook my head. If I leave, she'll take it the moment my back is turned. I have to stay. I have to guard it. Mr. Green grew more concerned too. When I showed him the unsigned contracts, he warned, "She may try to forge your consent. Keep everything locked away, and don't be alone with her if you feel unsafe." His words haunted me. Don't be alone with her. How could a mother fear her child like that? That night, I double-checked every lock. Claire's door slammed upstairs, her footsteps pacing, restless. I sat in the parlor again, rosary in one hand, journal in the other. I prayed harder than ever. Lord, give me strength. Don't let me hate her. Don't let me give in. The storm had quieted, but inside the house, the storm raged louder than ever. And as I closed my eyes, I realized the breaking point wasn't coming. It was already here. The air in the house grew heavy, like the calm before a storm. Days passed in brittle silence, every exchange with Claire sharper, colder. I felt the tension pressing down like a physical weight. I had survived the courtroom, the whispers, the contracts, but I knew something was coming. Something final. It arrived on a gray afternoon. I was in the kitchen, kneading dough the way my mother once taught me, when I heard voices outside. Curious, I stepped to the window. Claire stood on the porch with two men in suits, pointing at the house, her gestures wide and animated. She was selling promises she had no right to make. I stepped outside, apron still dusted with flour. "Claire!" My voice cracked across the wind. The men turned, startled, but she didn't flinch. "Go back inside, Mom," she said tightly. "This doesn't concern you." "It concerns me more than anyone," I snapped. "You're standing on my porch, offering my house as if it's yours. Have you no shame left?" One of the men shifted awkwardly. "Ma'am, we were told this property was available." "It is not available," I cut him off, holding up the deed I had tucked under my arm like a shield. "This house is under a life estate clause. No sale can happen without my consent, and I will never give it." The men exchanged glances. One muttered, "We don't want trouble," before walking back to their car. The other followed, leaving Claire standing rigid, her face pale with fury. She spun toward me, her voice shaking with rage. "Why do you always ruin everything for me? Do you enjoy humiliating me?" I stood firm, though my knees trembled. "I'm protecting what was entrusted to me. You're the one humiliating yourself." She stepped closer, her fists clenched. "You'll regret this." And then it happened. Her heel caught on the top step of the porch. For months I had told her to fix that loose board, but she always dismissed me. Now, as the rain-slick wood betrayed her, she stumbled. I reached out instinctively, but she jerked away, still blinded by anger. In a blink, she slipped, tumbling down the steps. The world seemed to slow. The thud of her body, the gasp torn from my throat, the sharp crack as she hit the ground. Silence followed, broken only by the gulls crying overhead. I rushed down, heart pounding. She was groaning, clutching her ankle, her face twisted in pain. "Don't move," I said, kneeling beside her. "I'll call for help." Her eyes met mine, and for a fleeting second the mask cracked. I saw not the greedy woman who plotted behind my back, but my little girl again, frightened and vulnerable. Tears welled in my eyes. "Claire, I never wanted this. I only wanted to protect our home." The ambulance came quickly. Neighbors had seen the fall and called. As they carried her away, Mr. Thompson touched my shoulder. "That step gave her what she deserved," he muttered, but I shook my head, whispering, "No." It wasn't revenge. It was life reminding her that some foundations cannot be ignored. At the hospital, the doctor explained her injuries were serious but not life-threatening. Broken ankle, bruised ribs, weeks of recovery ahead. She would need time, care, and patience. When I entered her room, she wouldn't look at me. Silence stretched until I finally spoke. "Claire, maybe this is the lesson we both needed. You tried to tear down what was steady, and it broke you instead." Her eyes glistened, but she turned away. "Don't preach to me, Mom." Still, I pulled a chair beside her bed. "I'll stay," I said softly, "because no matter how far you've gone, you're still my daughter." She didn't answer. But she didn't push me away either. That night, as I sat in the hospital room listening to the steady beep of machines, I realized karma doesn't always come in fire or fury. Sometimes it comes in the quiet slip of a step, the reminder that greed has consequences. The hospital became our strange sanctuary. Days turned into weeks as Claire recovered, her ankle wrapped in plaster, her pride more fractured than her bones. I visited every day, sometimes sitting in silence, sometimes reading old family recipes aloud, just to fill the air. At first, she resisted me. She turned her face away, refused my food, answered only in clipped words. But slowly the walls began to crack. I saw it in the way she glanced at me when she thought I wasn't looking, in the way her hand lingered just a little longer when I helped adjust her pillow. One evening, as the sun painted the hospital window in shades of gold, she finally spoke. Her voice was small, like the child I once knew. "Why didn't you give up on me, Mom? After everything I did to you, why stay?" I swallowed hard, fighting the lump in my throat. "Because you're my daughter. You can hate me, betray me, even break me, but you'll always be my blood. And love. Love doesn't quit that easily." Her eyes shimmered, and for the first time in years I saw real remorse in them. I thought selling the beach house would fix everything. The debts, the lies, the fear of losing face. But I see now, I was just burying myself deeper. I reached out, my hand covering hers. "That house isn't just bricks and wood. It's memories, laughter, tears. It's a part of us. You can't sell a soul and expect to keep living whole." She nodded slowly, and a tear slid down her cheek. "I'm sorry, Mom. I don't know if I can ever make it right." "You can," I whispered. "Not all at once, but step by step, the way we mend broken things." Weeks later, when she was discharged, we returned to the house together. The loose step on the porch had been repaired by the neighbors, as if the town itself wanted to seal the chapter of her fall. Claire hesitated at the doorway, but I nudged her gently inside. The familiar scent of salt air and aged wood wrapped around us. For the first time, I didn't feel like I was guarding the house from her. I felt like I was inviting her back home. We worked side by side in small ways. She cooked with me in the kitchen, fumbling at first, but laughing when she burned the garlic. She helped me repaint the living room walls, her cast still clumsy, but her effort genuine. And every evening, we walked along the beach, her limping slightly, me steadying her arm. Neighbors noticed. Some whispered about karma, others about redemption. But I stopped listening to their judgment. For once, my focus wasn't on defending or proving. I was simply living, healing. One night, as the waves crashed against the shore, Claire turned to me and said, "You know, I thought the house was my prison, but maybe it's my anchor. Maybe it's what I needed to stop drifting." I smiled, my heart swelling. Sometimes we don't recognize the blessings until we almost lose them. And in that moment, I knew the lesson was complete. Not just for her, but for me. I had spent so long fighting, protecting, surviving. Now it was time to rebuild, to forgive, and to live again. The beach house stood tall behind us, the moonlight silvering its windows. It had endured storms, betrayal, and near loss. And so had we. As we walked back hand in hand, I whispered a silent prayer of gratitude to the house, to fate, to the karmic balance that had broken and healed us both. For the first time in a long time, I believed in tomorrow.